We're muted at the moment. I'm muted.
It's coming up as the town of Shabik Island. Not sure why that is for my name.
Fixed it for you. Alright, so we're good there. Live stream, YouTube. Oh,
2 minutes today.
Oh, yeah. Would it be helpful if I did minutes again or, yeah, okay. I didn't know if somebody else was excited
You're
to.
setting the bar high.
Yeah.
No, we insist that somebody else do it.
Yeah. Yeah, you like, minutes?
I have done the minutes, I don't like doing the minutes.
These are good people. Sorry, let's see.
You know, it's a guy's strategy to demonstrate incompetence in anything you don't want to do. Right?
Weaponizing competency.
There you go.
Hurts.
They should look clean to me, honey.
Oh, but you do it so much better. You're so good at doing the dishes.
his sign-in sheet, and she'll have a list of everybody, thousands of people. Got a big audience tonight too.
Yeah, Mark, try to stay awake this time, the snoring gets annoying.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were gonna say that to me, that's what I think.
I fell asleep.
It's where you sleep.
Actually, I just left a board meeting, a Zoom board meeting.
Oh.
There were like 16 of us,
Mhm.
and somebody was actually down. Good, you're gonna sleep, I didn't want to say anything to her. But, hey,
I had to kick one of my friends under the table just yesterday, like first day of classes, and he was like over there doing the head nodding down. I was like, get up, get up.
Decades ago, I was up at Rhode
boy,
Island class and did my front row, fell asleep, and there's only about 8 of us in there.
Yeah,
And it was about 10 minutes left in the class, but you guys kind of done, so he goes.
yeah.
We all snuck out, including the people, even the guy sleeping there. Wow.
Either of those work for you?
This is gonna be a lot stronger.
This you through wall
You would, wouldn't you? Okay.
with the backing. Yeah, you don't want.
It's a little too wide. We're only about 5 feet wide.
Okay. I've got a couple more of those. Depending on where that can works.
This will want a backing block and maybe a big old fat washer too, right?
It wants a washer here.
Okay,
And it wants a good size backing block.
yeah,
Washer.
yeah, okay. That's a thing of beauty, man.
It is.
That's beautiful. Still got the price tag.
They what?
Still got the price tag on it.
It does. Or.
$7.40. That's an old price tag. It's an old price.
That's probably bought that about 25 years ago.
Thank you. He's gonna be on the front of our gig. To tie it to what, we don't know. Boat trailer and nothing else.
With your hook.
You should see the gig, man. That's one big rowboat. David was out this morning telling us everything we're doing wrong.
hopefully it was a short list.
And it's, I think we were getting Coast Guard credit for this.
This is. It's just hand out.
Yeah. Budget. Yeah, well, this is the, we need to keep them all good when I get going.
Alright. Yeah. You got come to order yet?
No,
Oh.
so that would be,
Yeah, we're ready to go.
okay.
Yeah.
We call the Harbor Committee meeting for January 2025 to order. First order of business is to approve the minutes from the November meeting. They were sent around by email. Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes?
You're good.
And can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move we approve them. I did point out to our secretary that it's the Acadia Wharf, not the Acadia Dock. She's gonna fix that. But otherwise, great.
Yeah, it's a member of the committee that volunteered today to take minutes.
What's the difference between walking and
I need her on every committee that we have.
He reckons that the dock is the part that goes out and the wharf is a stationary structure
Oh,
that
that
is
was
like
upstate New York, too.
connected
That's
to.
all part of that.
The dock's supposed to.
Depending on the storm, it's stationary, yeah.
It's okay, you're just okay.
So with the amendments, we make a motion to approve the minutes. Accepted, all in favor of approving the November minutes? Aye. And so we have here guests of GEI that I think that we would give them an opportunity to speak and raise questions before we get too far into our normal business with the harbor master and so on. So that this is an expedient time with you all here.
Since their meter's running and all, yeah.
Are you ready for us?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we have the project team here. Portion, Dan Ben was not able to make tonight, but Lisa Vickers with GEI, Noel Musson with the Musson Group, and Elon Gasco also with GEI. I have just a quick, presentation, not a presentation, a PowerPoint, just a couple of slides just to go through a brief update of what we've done since our last meeting, and then just have some questions about the upcoming community forum, and then just dates to have on the calendar to make sure that we're all on the same page. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen really quickly. Go. Can you see that?
Yes.
We can.
Great. I'm just going to put it in slideshow. Okay. Okay. Okay, just our check-in meeting for this month. Just again, provide some of the update on the project status. We've looked at some flood scenarios. We've created some draft inundation maps for near, mid, and long-term flood scenarios. Listed out some assets of concern for focus, and welcome your feedback on these ones that we have listed here. And then I'll just go through some of the community engagement and let Noel take over from there. He sent a flyer earlier to Derek, just a draft. We'll welcome your feedback on that as well. And just go through some of the strategies to get the word out about the forum so we can try to get the maximum number of community participants. So the flood scenarios that we've put together, again, as kind of discussed at the last meeting, are based on the Maine Climate Council recommendations. And we are looking at near term being present day, midterm being 2050 and 2070, and then long term being 2100. And with the recent update to the Maine Climate Council sea level rise, we've created some inundation maps. And I'll let Elon go through. I've put these maps together, and Elon can kind of give a little brief overview. He's created these maps. These are based on the highest astronomical tide levels. We're also looking at the 100-year storm, but I just want to make a note, we've included these here because with the 100-year storm, just the entire town dock area is inundated. So I thought just this would be a little bit more helpful to see the various flood scenarios over these near, midterm, and long-term timeframes. So, Elon, if you want to just kind of mention a little bit of the process.
Yeah, so these inundation boundaries are what's called the still water elevation, so they do not consider wave action. And as Lisa scrolls through the slides, you'll see the inundation boundaries kind of encroach further inland, and that's as we add sea level rise values to the inundation. So in these values, we're looking at the highest astronomical tide. So, you might call it the king tide. You'd expect to see it once or twice a year. This is from data from the Maine Geological Survey. And then in each subsequent scenario, we're adding values of sea level rise that we've taken from the Maine Climate Council based on sea level projections from NOAA. And this is what's called the bathtub model. So if we're looking at water elevation of 8 feet, for example, then any part of the terrain that's under 8 feet would be considered inundated. But later on in this project, we will be doing some wave modeling specific to this site so that we can see the impact of waves, because we do know that waves will make the inundation boundaries a little bit bigger than what we see here today.
Great, thanks. So this is, I just scrolled, but here's existing. And then the highest astronomical tide being a tide, you'll see, about twice a year. Whereas the 100-year flood inundation is a 1% chance of happening each year. Although last January we had it twice. So this is 2050. You can, see this inundation is extending further inland. 2070, even further. And then 2100. And then just to make a note too, this is the inundation. And if you have buildings, that doesn't mean the building is necessarily underwater. It's just that that's where the elevation of the water is expected to inundate that area. So again, these are draft, and we are, we'll finalize these as well as create the 100-year. But I just wanted to kind of give you a brief update on where we're at with that portion of the project. Any questions about that?
Yeah, so you look at that worst case inundation. How deep is the water in the parking lot there? In our parking lot? A foot?
Elon, can you speak to that?
I do not know off the top of my head, but I will look right now so I can answer the question in like 5 minutes. So I'll come back to it.
Sort of slopes up, right?
So I mean the level part down low.
Yeah.
Just wondering how much pavement we're gonna put in.
Which, having looked at these, graphics and sort of thinking about the projections that you're seeing, how does it strike you in terms of impact, this project versus other projects that you've seen?
Yeah, excuse me, that's a good question. I think because of the, town dock area and the portion that's under the town's ownership versus the existing development around, when we start to think in terms of adaptation strategies, I think there are a bit more, limitations as far as, you don't have this whole kind of list of options that you can choose from. So you'll, need to get creative as far as, what we think about. And I'll mention this further on, but I will be attending the Town and Gown on Friday with Maine Maritime, and I think that is a critical partner in this too, just the shared waterfront area. But as far as comparing it to other towns, I mean it's kind of on track with what other towns are seeing. We will also, I know our project area is the town dock area, but we did mention, I think the last meeting there was looking at not so much the flood inundation of the fort, but we will have a larger kind of scaled out map that we can include along the waterfront. That's a bit outside of the scope, but I just mentioned that because when you think about some of these strategies as we move forward, you know, the hope is that you can apply, even though there are private businesses in the area, maybe some of the adaptation strategies that we're thinking about for the town, you can also would pertain to the private businesses as well, or other areas of the waterfront that maybe are not outside of this, you know, focus spot. So, but I mean, the maps and the inundation are, you know, you're seeing this pretty common throughout the whole state with these studies.
Lisa, could you go back to the 2050 slide?
Sure.
And I can answer that question. So there's just a little bit of inundation right there that we expect to be about between half a foot and a foot of deep. And then as you move on to 2070, the depth kind of on that edge will increase to about 1.5 feet. Of course, as you're moving inland, that depth is decreasing. So that's just along the edge. And then if you move on to 2100, that maximum depth will be just above 3 feet. But again, that's like right along the edge of the water. As you move further inland, the depth is going to decrease.
Thank you.
Any other questions before I move on to next update?
No,
Okay. All right. Okay. I wanted to also know, as part of what we've been doing since the meeting, is looking at Derek sent us a great folder of documents. And one thing I've noted in there was this proposed waterfront improvement plan. It's from 2023. And so as we think about adaptation strategies, I guess I just wanted to ask the question of how is this something that the town is pursuing, something that we should be considering when we're, you know, proposing certain strategies. So I just wanted to kind of get an update on this and hear from you.
well, I think it's valuable to us to incorporate this as a potential infrastructure development. This is certainly something we've invested time and energy into. It's still proposed, and so there isn't a financial commitment that we've made to this infrastructure yet.
Okay.
Where do we stand on this $220 some odd thousand grant?
288.
That's what I meant.
So I was supposed to have what they're calling cohorts today, but they had some problems. So I'm still working on the paperwork for it. We have till 2032, just so you know, to apparently expend that, but I'm trying to get everything in line with all the documents so that hopefully once this study is done, we can start rolling maybe into that one as the next measure. So that's the plan anyways, I think.
So if I got it right, that money is intended as to allow us an expansion of our float system. That we haven't been thinking too much about tidal rise with that.
Right.
And that we're sort of, I guess, thinking that how we deal with tidal rise will be a later time frame than this money we're talking about. And probably, of course, a lot more money in total.
Yeah, I think we'd end up going for like a SHIP grant or one of those types of grants or whatever's available out there. Whether it's inland fisheries or the other ones that have I forget, they have a BIG and a SHIP, I think, 2 programs. So that's probably the money that we'd use, but I think this study should be considering that also.
Yeah.
To a degree that we can build off this.
Yeah, they should be aware that we want to extend our docks out and get more float space, yeah.
Do you know if this grant money from Congress is only for construction, it can be used for engineering and design?
I believe it's engineering and design, Scott. Let me just look here, the original narrative for that. Let's see if I can see.
Well, you don't need to do it.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I don't want to hold them up also.
And just to give you some background into those plans, the way that they were developed was actually it's sort of a result of several conversations that we had in response to what Maine Maritime Academy is proposing or what they're forced to do by the federal government to extend their own wharf in order to moor the new ship that is supposed to be coming. So this plan and the idea of extending further into the harbor was partly in response to that development on the MMA side.
Right, so part of that is to like, however we're affected by that dock being further out, making sure that we can get what we currently have around the ship that's out there without a lot of struggle, I believe was the original intent, so. Then I'm gonna see what it actually says.
All right, well, that's helpful to know that, this is a future plan, and so when moving forward, we'll kind of take this preliminary plan into consideration as well.
mean,
Okay,
We're pretty sure that if we're gonna be rebuilding our docks to expand out, over this time frame, we're gonna rebuild them higher.
Mhm.
Of course, the floats part don't really care, but definitely piling heights, I guess.
So
right, piling heights, materials could be, certain things. Right. All right, well, I'm gonna switch gears here a little bit and talk the upcoming meeting for the end of this month. I'll let Noel take it from here if he wants.
Great, thanks. So I don't know if you have a copy, paper copy in front of you, but we did come up with a flyer for distribution that we can use to try to get the word out about this, our community meeting. And so at our last meeting, we had decided that January 30th was going to be the day.
Whoops.
And
Whoops, you got a typo.
awesome. See, that's why I want people to look at it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a community conservation, it's a community conversation.
Yes.
So-
There you go. That it could be a community conservation though.
You're just seeing it awake.
What are we
Yeah,
gonna
so
do about
happy to
being-
take any other edits on this one, but I think the concept here is this is something that you can put around town, or we can send to people, or pop it in an email, or anything. You put it on the website to try to help generate some buzz around the meeting.
Just put in the words open bar, that'll increase the buzz.
Yep. All right. Hey, if you guys are providing it.
Lively discussion.
Yeah. So I think that there's that. And then the question for me would be, and I can follow up with Derek after the meeting at some point, but how do we try to what's the best way to try to get the word out? At the last meeting, we had talked a bit about some stakeholders, some of which we need to contact directly. But I'm not exactly sure how you want to try to work together to get people to know that we're actually having a meeting. So we need to brainstorm on that a little bit.
Roberta has a suggestion.
If Sue puts it on the town website, typically Alice Kimball will pick it up and put it on her Facebook page, and that is huge.
Yeah, so there's a number of organic sort of populations that we can reach if we have a digital copy of this and can share it via our media through the town.
Right.
And if you put an article in the Patriot, that would be a good thing.
The text notifications.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say that they can leave that to the town to take care of publicizing this? There.
And if we're gonna put an article in the Patriot, if you can make it substantial enough, and maybe with a picture, so it gets on the front page, then it's likely people will see it.
It's right there in the bottom of the birdcage.
Yep. I do have one comment or question about the whole sea level rise and dealing with it. At present, the town is requiring any buildings that are being rebuilt to be at a significantly higher level than original, like Dennett's Wharf is gonna have to be 7 feet higher than it is now. And that kind of raising of buildings in the near term, makes kind of a hodgepodge of some things being way up in the air and other things not. And I'm thinking specifically the town bathrooms, if we rebuild those, they're gonna have to be, the floor is gonna be about 7 feet above where it is now. And I don't know how you deal with that, you know, a handicap ramp is gonna have to be
On.
Well, I think
almost
that,
forever.
that's one of the things they're gonna look at as part of the study of what we're gonna do there.
It's not only
It's a
town,
lift, you know.
it's not only town rules, I bet their insurance companies require them
Just
too.
say,
That's
I think
what I was
FEMA and
I was
flood
wondering
insurance.
if that's what's driving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some towns or cities, like I know the city of Portland as an example, they've just gone through a big ordinance recode, they call it, and they've actually identified flood, in addition to what FEMA has, they've done a coastal flood overlay zone, and then they have specific design standards that even go above and beyond what FEMA requires for elevating buildings if it's a critical function. So they have it sort of laid out by essential exempt buildings like working waterfront, but then they have non-critical, which would be I think like restaurants, and then critical, which is like government, housing, sort of, similar things like that. But yeah, I mean, that's part of our adaptation strategies that we'll look at and, kind of get a handle on the critical assets that are inundated. And when we hear from the community during this engagement event, I think it's important to get feedback to, what's important to members of the community. And then we can sort of focus in on, obviously we've limited funding for many of these, but if we're going to start to put together plans to go after funding, what's the critical assets to the town that are most important and high priority, and have some adaptation strategies that go with that. So that's kind of, we haven't gotten to the adaptation strategy part of this study yet, but that'll be kind of things that we look at, and how would you deal with the bathroom. So
Would you be recommending to the town, changes that we could make on a municipal level to I guess enact or enforce, maybe both, changes to the ordinance? Is that part of what you might cover?
yeah, I mean, yeah, because I think a lot of times people, structural measures, put in a revetment or elevate, which are certainly, for something like the town dock area, important considerations, but it doesn't always have to be structural. It can be, retreating, that's not going to work for the town dock. And I'm just using these as general, so I don't want anyone to think this is what I'm recommending at all. But yeah, ordinance changes, there's municipal buyback programs and FEMA buyback in certain situations. So these are just general adaptation strategies on the table. But we need to do a little deeper dive. I think the site visit too is really helpful too, to kind of get an on the ground visualization of, how things are laid out, the use of the area. And then, but yeah, we'll have a list of adaptation strategies, for each asset, and then we can kind of hone in on some maybe more high level concept designs for the higher priority assets.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, so we have the edits for the flyer, a stakeholder.
Sorry, could I just ask another question? In the flyer, I just assumed it was going to be at Emerson Hall at the town office, but is there a better place to have the meeting than that? Or is that where you think we should have the meeting?
Upstairs in Emerson's.
Yeah.
That's the best place.
That's the best place?
Yep, upstairs here, yeah.
Okay, and so in that room, we could make smaller tables and have breakout meetings and stuff like that. So we could do like a combination of presentation style and small group work.
Yeah.
There's also a stage.
I love it. I could do a little play.
Interpretive dance. No.
Okay.
Noel, if I might make a suggestion, the font in the blue, the script font, could you make that a civic font and a standard font? Rather than script?
Yep.
I don't mind the script at the top, but I think there's some content there that, if it's going to be reproduced digitally and then printed, it would be better to be clear with that text.
We're talking mostly 80-year-old eyeballs.
Got it.
And we only have black and white here. Well, we have we can do some color ones. So I was wondering if it'd be better if it was like yellow, so it pop out better or not. But it looks okay, it's black and white.
I think the color scheme's fine. It's the font, the script font that I would like to make sure you're communicating the information without confusion.
Sure, absolutely. Happy to
I'm
change it.
not sure my kids can read that font because they don't know cursive.
They're not coming.
I'm just saying, but I'm wondering, they're 20-something years old. You know cursive?
I saw actually there's a list of bills for this legislative session, and I saw there's a bill to teach cursive in schools again. So, but,
Here,
Yeah, really
font.
test it. See if
It's a
you can
casting
read
font,
it.
right? So we gotta use.
So I think you can, unless there's any further comment or no, you have any further questions, we can continue with your presentation.
Yep, I think I'm good.
so just some of the engagements here, the town and gown. So, Derek, with the option of a Zoom, I just wanted to check in with the town. I mean, I can certainly go in person, but I thought if there's the option for Zoom and that would be as valuable, I would prefer that. But again, I want to make sure the town would be okay with that. So if you prefer I attend in person, I can certainly do that for Friday. I don't know if you had a preference.
Up to the committee, really, if Noel's got breakout sessions planned, it might be hard for you to.
This is for town.
No, for
and
town and gown.
Oh, town and gown.
Is that here or is that the academy?
That's at the academy this Friday, so you could probably zoom in without a problem to that, do you think? Oh, Roberta left. I'm gonna just make a judgment, say, yeah, zooming in would just be just as easy.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the site visit, looked at the town calendar, so we'll meet at the dock around 11 to look at it during high tide. And then head back around 5. It'll be a quick one. I'm not sure what the daylight will be, but we'll be able to kind of take a look. And then the forum will be over at Emerson Hall, 7 to 8. We kind of already covered some of this stuff, but yeah, targeted outreach, social media, if you have it, town website, yeah, newspaper notice, someone mentioned, if we could get those, to get the word out. And then just the general format, we'll give a project overview, we'll present these maps, identify, what assets, have these breakout sessions so that we can hear what's important to folks, any ideas that they have, for adaptation, and then have a question and answer period. It's what we kind of have set it up as, but help welcome your feedback.
At the end, we vote on the new fire station, right?
Yeah.
When is the town and gown and exactly where is it?
It's this Friday at 9 a.m. downstairs at the Alphon Hall, I guess it is, below the cafeteria. I don't know the name of the room.
Homes Heritage.
There you go, Homes Heritage. I was gonna say, I thought it started with an H, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
9 a.m.
Yeah, my plan for that is just, again, to give them an overview, similar to, some of this, just what we're doing for the study and what our intent is.
They may have their own plans as to how they're dealing with all this.
Right. Yeah, it'd be good to have the dialogue, so it'll be important, especially when we think of adaptation strategies. But that's where we're at, and I just have on my calendar, outside of these town and gown and then the community forum, just our next check-in will be February 19th.
Yes, that's our next scheduled harbor committee meeting, so it would be a very similar forum to that today.
Yeah, so hopefully at that point we'll have, again, identified, critical assets and what that we heard back from the community, and have potentially some adaptation strategies to present and hear back from you guys. So.
Anyone have any further questions for BEI representatives?
just to reconfirm the walk around thing down at the dock, that's also on the 30th.
The 30th beginning at 11 AM, I think if you could go back to your timeframes.
How it is.
Yes.
Got it. 5 PM low tide, gotcha.
Yes, Mark.
If I may just make a suggestion about presentations. I've seen a couple of these presentations. There's so much information on these PowerPoint slides that it's impossible for anybody who's like more than 3 feet away to actually read. And maybe bulletizing more stuff or putting fewer words on a page, because I find it almost impossible to follow. And that's just a suggestion in terms of presentations.
Like an eye test.
You know, what
An eye
what's
test.
You can get the headlines.
you know, just a thought, you know, or one
Yeah.
bullet per page. You know, it's 4 pages, but at least people can read it. Because
Sure.
if I have them upstairs, if you're sitting in the audience, you just can't read them.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, perhaps maybe some copies, maybe PDF copies printed of the presentation. I don't, you know, those are available. If they're breakout tables, maybe those would be on the tables.
Or distributed so people can download them. And
Or-
look, read their phone while they're at the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good excuse.
Any further questions anyone has? Do you have any further questions for us on the committee in preparation for either the town gown or the site visit? I mean, we still can liaison through Derek with you and so on. But while you have us in front of you, so to speak.
I think I'm good. I guess for just the site visit on the 30th, we'll just plan to meet down at the town and dock, and then you know, in between, if we could get, you know, just a table at the town hall to work kind of in between, that'd be helpful. But that's more for Derek, I guess. I can coordinate with him outside of this, but
How high should our wading boots be?
yeah. That'll be a good question. I haven't checked what the tide is on the 30th. See how high it's predicted.
They've been big recently, so 2 weeks out. They're making big.
Yeah, it would be close to new moon.
Should be pretty good size.
Yeah.
But the low tide will be fairly dark, so we may want to proceed a little earlier than 5. With some
Yeah,
of
that's
that.
a good thought. It's listed on the town website to meet at 5, but yeah, maybe we could even push it to, I don't know, what time. So it's like 5 now, and I know in Portland right now it's dark, you know, so maybe if we're not there at dead low 4, I don't know. How does people feel about that? How do people feel?
We meet at 4, and if people want to see exactly what the tide's gonna do, they can wait.
Mhm.
There's 11.6.
That's a big tide.
Caller.
How big is the tide?
Whatever.
It's about a 13-foot tide total. Good size.
Call them.
Well, I think unless there's any last minute further things, I appreciate and thank you for your work here and update. And we'll look forward to speaking to you on Friday for those of us who attend the town gown, and then the 30th.
Okay, that sounds great.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everyone. Give me a call, Lisa or Noel, whatever you need.
Okay,
Great.
sounds great.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thanks. Have a good night.
All right, I'm just